in this chapter, we are going to understand what are the various sources of water, as well as we have to understand about two new phenomena about evaporation and condensation. So let's begin. Firstly, water makes the life possible. So as you are aware, student, water is a basic necessity which is required for the survival for not only the humans but also by the plants and animals. Many organisms their life depends on water. So it is one of the basic constituent of all the living beings. So as we require air, as we want food for survival, similarly we want water for the survival. Next, around 70% of our body is made up of water. So this is important, that how much percent of our body is made up of water? About 70% of our body is made up of water. Nextly, the sources of water. So there are various sources of water. Firstly, the various natural sources of water includes rain, seas, ocean, river, streams, lakes and ponds. So these are the various natural sources of water. So let us discuss one by one. Ocean. So oceans cover more than 2/3 of the Earth's surface. So student, our Earth, when you see the diagram of the picture of the Earth from the space, more than that means 2/3 of our Earth is covered with ocean and rest part is the land area. So because of it consists of 2/3 of the Earth's surface, it covers 2/3 surface. That is why it is called as the largest source of water on the Earth. Okay. Next is, however, due to the presence of many salts in ocean water, there are many salts which are present. Because of that, this water is not fit for drinking. So ocean water cannot be used for drinking purpose. So you can see here the diagram. This is ocean. Nextly, river and streams. So higher part of the mountains are covered with snow. So in the winter season, you might have observed that the highest part of these mountains are covered with the snow. So during summer, when the temperature increases, then what happens? The snow on the mountain will melt and change into water. So these snow-covered mountains, because of the summers, during the summer, because of high temperature, the snow will melt and there will be a formation of streams and rivers. So this water, the snow will melt and convert into water. So this water comes down in the form of streams and rivers. So in this way, the two other sources, that is river and streams, are formed by melting of the snow. Nextly, the rain. So the rain is the main source of water on the earth. So which is the main source of water on earth? It is rain. So rainwater is the purest form of all the natural sources. So in the previous slide we have discussed about various sources. So out of all those natural sources, rainwater will be considered as the purest form of natural water. Nextly, when it rains, some of the rainwater goes into the ground. So what happens when it rains? You can see after some time the water which is collected on the roadsides and all those places, it disappears. So some of that rainwater will go into the ground. So this water will be called as underground water. So those the amount of the water which is seeping inside the ground and collected at a particular depth inside the ground, that is considered as underground water. Nextly, underground water. So underground water can be brought to the surface with the help of wells, tube wells and hand pumps. So by these three various ways, we can bring back the underground water to the surface. So first one, you might have seen these in the villages. These are wells, this is tube well, and these are hand pumps. So these all are the various ways in which we can bring back the underground water. So people in the villages, they take the wells to bring the underground water to the surface. This is the first one, that the people are digging what? They are digging wells. But in some places what happened, the underground water is very deep. Okay, the underground water, it collects at a particular depth inside the ground. But sometimes what happens, this underground water, it is very deep inside the earth. So holes are dug into the ground and the tubes and pipes are sunk into them. So in order to get that water which is very deep inside, so holes are being dug and pipes and tubes are being sunk in them. So water is brought to the surface with the help of these pumps. Okay, with the help of these pumps, the water is brought back to the surface. These pumps are run by electricity. How these pumps are running? They are using electricity. So these wells are known as tube wells. So such types of wells are considered as tube wells. So water from the tube well is used. What is the water can be used from the tube wells? They are used mainly for drinking as well as irrigation purposes. So water obtained from the tube wells are important because they can be used for drinking as well as irrigation. So let's move on to the next part. Hand pumps. So hand pumps are used in the places where electricity is not available or where people cannot afford to use electricity. So this is the third mode in which we can obtain the underground water, but it is used only where the people where the electricity is not available. Okay, there are certain parts in our country where they are facing problem in getting electricity. So mostly at those places where electricity is unavailable, or secondly when people cannot afford to use electricity, so they are using which method? They are using hand pumps. Nextly, the other various sources which we have discussed, that is the pond, river, lakes, seas and waterfalls also provide us water. These are also providing us water. But however, this water is full of germs. These germs are harmful for us because they cause various diseases. So these water bodies are, this water is full of germs and various impurities. So it is not safe for drinking. So this water must be purified and filtered to make it fit for the drinking. Okay. So we learn in higher classes the water from these sources, from rivers and lakes, they can be purified in a water treatment plant. You will study that in your higher classes. Okay. So this is a way. Firstly, you have to purify and filter that water so that it can be made safe for drinking purpose. So nextly, the important phenomena here is evaporation. So students, all the things that you see in your surroundings, they can be classified as solid, liquid and gases. So water exists in all these states. So in solid you can consider example ice, in liquid your water is there, and in gaseous form water vapor is there. In detail you will briefly study that in your higher classes. So the first of all we have to understand what is evaporation. So the change of water into water vapor. So one form is changing into the another. So the liquid water is converted into water vapor due to what? Due to heating. It is called as evaporation. So as you can see here from the diagram, so this is the water source. You can consider this is ocean. So because of the sun, the heat is there, heat energy is there, hot environment is there. Because of that, the water from this liquid water will be converted into water vapor. So this is how the water vapors are formed. Okay, and the process of conversion of water into the water vapor is called as evaporation. Okay, then there are various factors which are going to affect the process of evaporation. There are various factors on which the rate of evaporation depends. We have to discuss them in detail one by one. So the factors which are affecting evaporation. The first factor is water evaporates faster when the weather is windy. Okay, when there is a lot of air in the environment, the weather is windy, so the rate of evaporation is faster. So for that we can perform a simple experiment. What you have to do? You have to take two saucers of same size. Okay, same size saucers, and then you have to pour equal amount of water to them. So you can take here, these are the two saucers, and you have to pour equal amount of water in them. So put one of the saucer under the fan and turn the fan on. As you can see, one of the saucer, this pink one, is kept under the fan and you have to turn the fan on. And the second saucer you have to place where there is no wind. Okay, there will be no wind. You can place it away on the another table where there is no supply of wind. So observe the saucer after an hour. So after 1 hour you have to observe these both saucers. So what you will are going to see from that, what you are going to observe? We will observe that the saucer which is placed under the fan, like this one. This is a dish which is kept under the fan. So you can see from here the water as compared to the one which is kept away from the fan, the water is less in this saucer. So that means more water has evaporated from the saucer placed under the fan. That means if it has less amount of water, that means more water has evaporated from this saucer which was placed under the fan. And as you know, we have switched on the fan, so there is lot of air under this. So thus it proves that water evaporates faster when the weather is windy. So by this we can conclude that the rate of water evaporation is faster when the weather is windy. So this is the first factor which is affecting the rate of evaporation. Let's move on to the next part, that is water evaporates faster when the temperature is high, when the climatic conditions are very hot, that is temperature is high. So what you have to do, you have to take the same amount of water in two saucers again. You have to take two saucers of the same size and you have to pour equal amount of water into them. Keep one of the saucer in the sun and other in the shade. So as you can see, one of the saucer is kept under the sun, that is outside on a table, and the another saucer is kept in a shade, okay, where there is no direct sunlight reaching. So what you will observe, after an hour, you find that there is less amount of water in the saucer that is in the sun. So in this bowl or in this saucer, the amount of water will be less as compared to this one which is kept in the shade. So this shows that more water has evaporated from the saucer which is placed in the sun. That means why the amount of water is less in this case, in this saucer, because more water has evaporated from this saucer. So it proves that water evaporates faster when the temperature is high, because it is kept directly under the sun. So after 1 hour you will see less amount of water in this saucer. This indicates that the rate of evaporation is faster when the temperature is high. So this is the second factors which is affecting the rate of evaporation. So let's move on to the next factor, that is evaporation is faster when the air is dry. Okay, when the air is dry. So you might have observed your mother spreading the clothes in the outside the house in order to make them dry. So you must have noticed that the clothes dry faster on hot dry days. Okay, when there is a lot of sunny day, so the clothes will dry faster in that condition than on a cloudy day. Okay, do you know what is the reason behind that? Because on a dry day, okay, when the climatic conditions are very hot and there is sunny day, there is a dry day, the air has the least moisture. Moisture you can say for now as water vapor. So on a dry day, the air is having less amount of water vapor in it. So it can take in more moisture from the clothes. So from the wet clothes, the dry air is going to take more moisture. But on the other hand, on a cloudy day, what happens? The air is already having more water vapor or moisture in it, so it will absorb very less water from the wet clothes. So this is the reason why the rate of evaporation is faster when the air is very dry. So let's move on to the next factor, the last one, that is water evaporates faster when the exposed surface is large. Okay. So for this you have to perform a simple experiment. You have to take two handkerchiefs which are made up of same size and made up of same fabric. You can say you can take a handkerchief made up of cotton. So you have to fold one of the handkerchiefs in half twice. Twice you have to fold it in halfway, and the other one you have to put these handkerchief on the table, okay, and the other you have to spread that on the table. So both these handkerchief, first you have to dry, first you have to wet them in the water which is kept here, and then one you can spread it completely, and other one you have to keep it folded like twice. So, and you can see there is sun, that is climatic condition is there, okay. Hot is there. So after some time what you will see, you will find that the handkerchief that was not folded is dry. Okay, so this one which is spread completely, this handkerchief after an hour or after some time this will dry completely as compared to the one which is folded. So this one which is folded will be still wet. So this proves that the water evaporates faster when the exposed surface area is large. Okay, as you can see, this exposed surface area is large as compared to this one. So it dries faster. That means the rate of evaporation is much faster when the exposed surface is large. Okay, so these are the four various factors which are going to affect the rate of evaporation. Let's move on to the next phenomena, that is condensation. So as I told you, water exists in three states, that is solid, liquid as well as gas. So again, when the water vapor is going to cool down and forms it forms water again, that is called as condensation. So when water vapor becomes cool, it changes again into the water. So the process of changing the water vapor into the water, this is a reverse phenomena. Earlier evaporation, we have understood that water is converted into water vapor by what? By heating. But here, if the water vapor is again changing back to water on the process of cooling, that process is called as condensation. So in nature, water vapor condenses to form water in many ways. So there are different ways in which the water vapor condenses to form water. So various examples of condensation here are dew, then clouds, fog, frost and snow. So these are all the phenomena which can be considered as condensation. So let's discuss one by one. First one is dew. So when water vapor condenses on a cold object, so okay, the water vapor will condense on what? On a cold object such as grasses. In the field, dew is formed. So here you can see this is a leaf. On that you can see droplets of water. So this is what? This is the process of formation of dew. How it is formed? When water vapor condenses on the cold object. This cold object here is the grass. So you can see this in the early morning. Sometimes you can observe such type of phenomena. So this is an example of condensation. Let's move on to the next one, that is snow. So when water vapor freezes in the air, it forms crystals. So water vapor, when it freezes in the air itself, that it forms crystals of ice. So those crystals of ice will be called as snow. The snowfall take place mainly at hill station in winters. You might have visited certain hill station during vacations. So you might have seen such type of scenario there, that the snowfall will take place at hill station mainly in the winter season. So how snow is formed? This is also an example of condensation. This is whole covered with snow. Nextly, fog. So during the winter, the water vapor condenses on the dust particles. So what happens? When winter season is there, this water vapor will condense on the dust particles. So in the air, dust particles are present. So the water vapor will condense on these dust particles in the air, and it will form a clouds. Okay, so those clouds which are formed close to the grounds, these will be called as fog. So you can see here in the trees, this is whole covered with the fog. So this is also a phenomena of condensation. So let's move on to the exercise part, student, of this chapter. First question is multiple choice question. Here you have to take the correct answer. Firstly, around dash percentage of our body is made up of water. So how much percentage of our body covers water, contain water? 60%, 70% or 80%. So 70% of our body is made up of water. Next question is the largest body of the water on the earth are dash oceans, seas and rivers. So as we have discussed in the video that the ocean cover 2/3 of the surface of the earth. That is why it is considered as largest body of water. So the right answer is ocean. Nextly, the fill in the blanks. In fill in the blanks, what you have to first one is there. We cannot drink sea water because it is dash. So the sea water, the ocean waters or the waterfall, the water of the waterfall, they are not fit for drinking purpose because they contain germs, etc. But if we take an example of the sea water is not fit for drinking because it is salty. Okay, because it contains large amount of salt. Next is the snow melts on the mountains to form dash. So the higher top of the mountain, the snow will melt and it will form the rivers and the stream. The last one is dash is formed when the water contains on a cold object. Cold object you can consider as the surface of a grass. So the dew is formed when the water condenses on the cold surfaces. So let's move on to the next part of the exercise. Here you have to, different pictures are given here, you have to name those pictures. So first one, as you can see, it is covered with snow, so the answer is snow. Second one, there are water droplets on the surface of the leaves, so this is formation of dew. And the last one here, you can consider this fog, the answer is fog. So the section B of this exercise is first multiple choice question. First is, people dig well to get what? Dash water. So why people dig wells? To get sea water, well, or underground water. So people dig well to get the underground water. So the correct answer is your C option. Next is, clouds, dew, fog, etc. are examples of what? Are they examples of evaporation, condensation, or melting? So all these three are the examples of condensation phenomena. So let's move on to the next part, that is very short answer question. Firstly, you have to answer that, name 4 natural sources of water. The 4 natural sources of water include oceans, river, sea, then stream, as well as you can write rain also. You write any 4 natural sources of water in this. Next is, how much portion of the earth's surface do ocean cover? So as we have discussed, ocean covers about 2/3 of the earth's surface, and it is considered as the largest source of water on earth. Next is, what is the process of water vapor changing into water called? So when water vapor changes into the water on cooling, that phenomena is called as condensation. Next is short answer question. Firstly, what is an underground water? So as we have discussed that when rainfall occurs, some of the rainwater, it will seep into the ground and it gets deposited or settled at a particular depth deep inside the earth. So that water will be called as underground water. Next is, how do we get underground water? So we can obtain the underground water by digging wells. We can use tube wells as well as we use hand pumps in order to get this underground water. Next is, why do wet clothes dry quickly on a windy day? So wet clothes dry quickly on a windy day because the rate of evaporation is high, is faster on a windy day. That is why our wet clothes they dry quickly. Move on to the next type of question, that is long answer question. So here first one is, list any 3 factors that affects the evaporation. So in the videos we have discussed about there are 4 different factors which affects the rate of evaporation. You have to write any 3 of them. First one is when the weather is windy. Second one, when the temperature is very high. And the third one is when there is dry air condition. Okay. So when the air is dry. So these affects the evaporation. Lastly, why do we spread wet clothes for drying? So we spread wet clothes for drying because the rate of evaporation is much faster when the exposed surface area is more. When you spread it completely, so the rate of evaporation will be much faster. Okay. So by this we have completed our 5th chapter of EVS, that is sources of water. Hope to see you in my next video. Till then, take care. Thank you.